So I was working in the engineering department, Cambridge University, and there was a positive thinking course being run, and I wanted to go to it, and the guys in the workshop said, "You don't want to go on that, load of rubbish," and it intrigued me. I wanted to see what it was about. I went down there, and two very old gentlemen said, "I wish I'd taken more chances and risks in my life and done more crazy things," and that resonated with me. I thought, well, I'm here in this safe environment, which I actually really enjoy, but I know there's more out there, and I was always told I'd never make it outside of the workshops. And I didn't know what real life was outside of the workshops, So this intrigued me even more, and I wanted to go and see what was out there. I'd never been travelling at that time, and I went to Southeast Asia with my saxophone. Went travelling, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, and I went to Melbourne and found this place called the Old Fish Shop, where there was this culture of coffee, and I was able to sit there with my friends and talk about coffee machines, and stuff that excited me, and I absolutely loved it. I wasn't sitting there with a beer with my friends getting drunk. I was sitting talking about philosophy and coffee, and I just loved it. I felt grown up. I felt like I could talk about this stuff that excited me, and it was a revelation, really. Subsequently, I loved Australia so much that after my time out there, I returned. I saved up a bit of money and I returned out there to study jazz music. I went straight away and I said to the guy, "I'm a barrister, can I make some coffee?" And he said, "Don't you mean barista, mate?" so I was a bit embarrassed there, and he goes, "Here, drive this," and he gave me the machine. It was a cart outside the art centre, had 6 coffees going on at once. It was really, really busy, so I got thrown in at the deep end and I had to prove myself, and I quite enjoyed that challenge. And then literally within about 20 minutes he left me to it. He walked away. There was this loose change system where people would just give what they wanted and help themselves to the change, and then you'd have to make the coffee. So you'd be making 6 coffees at once in a big milk jug, and you'd be pouring them all, having a conversation, and there's just yourself and the machine and this little white dog underneath the counter barking at you. So it was quite an experience. So literally on the first day I had that job and I was thrown in at the deep end. And then I also worked in another speciality store as well in my studies, and that was called Eureka Coffee, Growers Espresso, and they actually grew their own coffee in Australia. Had a family business there. Now, I used to go and do my study in this second coffee shop, and because I was asking so many questions, they offered me a job. I ended up working there for the coffee knowledge, and also for Michael, because that was my job before, and it's really fast-paced, and I enjoyed that buzz and the energy of that fast-paced environment. Now, at the end of my college course, I need to sort of reiterate, and the hub where I was working on the coffee machine, all the students were passing by in the morning from my music college, so I know all the teachers and the students and would be talking to them and make coffee before the lesson. I'd be up nice and early, open the cart, the birds were on the table pecking crumbs, and I was putting the machine on, just enjoying a lovely cup of coffee before Melbourne had woken up in the morning. So there's this, what I love about it and excites me is being up before everyone else, switching that coffee machine on and just dialing in the perfect coffee, and just listening to the birds and just enjoying that, looking out the window. Here I see the sun come up, just beautiful. So that's what I love in the morning, when it's peaceful. And then later on, Michael said to me, it's my boss in the busy cafe, he said, "Look, Simon, I need to tell you something before you leave." And I was going home. He sent me on some more courses, even though he knew I was leaving. He said, "Somehow you have to put together your coffee and your engineering and your music in some capacity." He said, "I don't know how you're going to do it, but you need to go and do this when you get home." So he was doing well. He had a number of businesses in banks and little coffee shops, and he made time for me. He sat me down. He knew my passion, and he was my mentor, really. He was the catalyst for me to go back and give me the confidence to think about that, go back to Cambridge and do that, actually. I listened to that. I went to work for Coffee Hit in London as well, installing coffee machines for them all over London. And because I always thought to myself, it's got such a great coffee scene and coffee culture in Melbourne, why don't we have that at home? And I came back, and just as I was coming back, it was all starting to happen in London. I moved to London for a year. I worked for Coffee Hit, repairing machines, got into Mazzocco machines, installed them all over London, all these new startups doing really well. Got excited about filter coffee and all this sort of new brewing techniques and equipment for Coffee Hit for Paul. And I worked there for a year. All these places were doing great. Inspiration. Came back to Cambridge, my hometown. after the buzz of London, it was quite nice and quite calm. And I was told by my friend that there was this great little spot there that would, do well for a little cafe. And that was it. I thought, well, I've got to do this now. So I worked through the night. I worked through the night in this company called Extron to get enough money together. And in the daytime, I'd be working with this other guy, fitting the shop out and actually putting together the first coffee shop, which is Hot Numbers. I didn't know what the name was going to be called first. We were coming out with Coffee Trough, with a pig snorting coffee beans and all sorts of crazy ideas and names. And in the end, I asked, if I could call it Hot Numbers, named after my friend Max's record store on Kingston Street, which was all the chart toppers of the times. It was the Hot Numbers, the chart toppers. And again, that works well with coffee beans. It's the music connection. It's the Hot Numbers. It's the roasted coffee beans. So it's got this kind of connection and synergy with the music and the coffee. So for me, that was it. We opened the door with no advertising, and it became pretty busy pretty quick, with the confidence that the product was good, and I couldn't get one of these exciting coffees that I myself am willing to cycle the other side of Australia for. I thought, well, other people are going to do that in Cambridge being quite an educated culture and sort of discerning customer base, I'd like to say, who wouldn't mind paying the extra for quality coffee. So that's Hot Numbers.